All right, guys, what's up? Just a quick video here. This past Saturday, like most Saturdays, I am on the Talking Shit podcast with Dr. Evil Genius, specifically the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. We just watched the UFC fights, we talk some shit, and it's usually a chill time. We usually get some people in the comments, a couple people hopping up on the panel with us, but this week we actually were graced by the great Jesse on Fire. You've definitely heard me talk about him. If not, this will be your introduction and the channel link, as well as the full episode of the Filthy Casual podcast and the Talking Shit podcast channel down in the description. Let's do it.
Issues that harm the product on the floor. One being Steph Curry. Steph Curry has, we have Jesse on ice.
Yeah.
Oh!
Jesse on ice, son.
Jesse on ice. What is going on?
Just mixing it up.
AKA Jesse on Fire. If you have not checked out this man's channel, please do. Anything to know, inside and outside.
Oh, wait, that's him?
Yeah, that's him.
Don't you have your own watch along? I have like 174 subscribers. I'm nothing compared to you.
I mean, I'm gonna go live later, but I was just coming to say what's up before I do.
Yeah, I know that he's very excited. We've got Abdurrahimov and Pavlovich. Pavlovich is a 3.5 favorite. You can just look at their body types. You can say Vegas is looking at them and saying, hey, one guy is 28, one guy is 40, and the guy that's 40 looks like he's 40.
So, when I was picking, I was just like, I don't remember either of these guys. I remember Pavlovich's name, but I couldn't place any fights that I'd done with him.
Right, I'm more familiar with Abdurrahimov.
That's why it's because of the heavyweight division. I was talking about this with I was talking to Francis' manager about like his prospects in terms of re-signing the UFC, doing the Tyson Fury thing or whatever. And we were talking about how like Israel Adesanya is in a completely different type of situation in terms of the deal because the UFC can give him 3 fights a year. You know, so like let's say he nets out to where he's making $6-7 million a fight, fights 3 times, he makes whatever $18 to $21 million a year. But with Francis, they can't guarantee him that many fights, even, assuming that he remains champion because the heavyweight division is always so light, dude. There just aren't a lot of good heavyweight fighters. Like, you give him 3 fights in 1 year, and they would have absolutely no one that was in a position to challenge him.
Even if John Jones comes back, it's like, I think that with the main
Make sure John Jones is retired.
that's why I said even in. But I think between Volkov and Aspinall, if they put on a show, they could definitely get something going because neither of them they don't talk a lot, and I think that's
Overhand right for Pavlovich. He's got him on his horse. But you see a lot of these Dagestanis, they've got chins of iron. You're not going to get Abdurrahimov out of there so quickly. But Pavlovich definitely's got power, and you can see he's bristling with it. You were saying, Jesse?
I was just saying that Dana said yesterday that he said that if Francis gets surgery, then John could theoretically fight for an interim title immediately. But Francis just got surgery yesterday, so that happened. But at the same time, like, who knows, dude? They just say they've got this dual thing going on where you got they've got what they say publicly, which can mean one of they say it, they have a reason for saying everything, but it definitely is not always to announce to the public something that's going to actually happen. It's like
I am happy. Either you're happy or you're really sad and you're saying you're happy because you're really sad, or you're in.
like as an example, when they announced Stipe agrees to fight John Jones in whatever, and it was like, and it came out of nowhere, and I started looking around and it was like, oh, I know why they did that. It was the day before Gon and Derek Lewis were going to fight for the interim title, and it was because that pay-per-view was tracking to do nothing. Like, so they're like, well, we got to bring some attention to the heavyweight division, because then like Stipe came out afterwards. He's like, I agreed to that like 6 months ago, and nothing had changed. So they're just like, and then other times they're negotiating. So it's like, oh, Francis might get surgery, and then they're like, okay, well, then we'd have to do an interim title fight, and then they make it look like the reason is because
Gunzo.
Ooh,
The referee is letting you go.
Okay, I think that was fair. As quickly.
Yeah. The referee was really letting that go.
And I think fairly so, because as quick as Abdulmanaf got up, he was not like in like real danger. But wow,
Betting odds, man. But like,
look at that shovel uppercut.
beautiful. That's like what Connor was. Connor's thing. It wasn't an uppercut, and it wasn't like a hook.
It was more like a matador. You're talking about when he slumped Aldo in 15 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a matador.
he has the punch that he knocked out Aldo with is a step back cross counter, but he also throws the one that you were just talking like that punch that he throws. Connor used to throw that a lot. Like his style was like, people think that like they're like, oh, he's washed or whatever. I don't think people have really taken the time to watch his fights prior to the Mayweather fight versus after, because his style is completely different. He went and he trained nothing but boxing.
Do you think that's all it is though? Like, I mean, because he had a very wide. I mean, I love
karate stance. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's what brought him to the dance. So like, I mean, is it just like I don't know. I just don't get the thinking behind like I'm gonna come out and do this the way I've never done it before.
I don't think it's a matter of thinking, dude. It's a matter of muscle memory. It's like you know, that's why, you know, you get somebody who's you know, got a month of training versus someone who has 15 years of training, and it's like you couldn't get the person who's got 15 years of training to throw a poorly structured punch if you tried.
Cheers.
Like you'd be like, throw a shitty punch. Like they don't know how anymore. Like their body moves the way it moves. And like, you know, so if you do nothing but train boxing for years, actually, because then like, you know, when he was doing the Poirier fight, he's like, oh, I'm just going to walk through him. So he's just going to train boxing, and that way he can go straight into the Manny Pacquiao fight. His paradigm was representing Manny, because they were going to do the Dustin fight, then they were going to do the Conor, like the Pacquiao fight immediately after. And so he goes in there and he thinks he's just going to box Dustin. Dustin kicks his legs out, and that's that. You know, but his style was so much harder to deal with before, because if you're going all these different angles, it's like he could be a good boxer, but if you're a great stand-up martial artist, like he almost is like a hybrid between or was a hybrid between guys like Nate Diaz and Israel Adesanya, like where he's got those long strikes, but he's throwing all these weird-ass fucking angles, so no one could really prepare for him very well.
That was the most fun stuff to watch, and now he just abandoned it.
Like he's predictable now.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you this question, because I know we're not going to have the privilege of having you on for too much longer. I'm glad that you mentioned Conor. We know that the biggest sensation in the UFC right now is Khamzat Chimaev. What do you make of Khamzat inviting?
Yo, I lost you guys for a second.
Oh, you know, I was asking about Khamzat.
Hang on, I can't hear you guys all of a sudden.
No.
Hang on for 1 second.
Yeah.
Well, if that was all we got, that was all we got.
I can't.
I brought the heat. You
did.
70K? 70K? That's got to be a little bump. I'm sure somebody popped in. Did anybody pop in to see that?
Sorry, you were asking about Khamzat?
Yeah, so Khamzat, we know that he's like the biggest sensation in the UFC right now, and for good reason. What do you make of his invitation to Conor? And do you think that Conor could be able to pick up, maybe get some of that competitive fire back? Because I think that's what's wrong with Conor, is that the competitive fire has fizzled out. Do you think that intense, that intense training, camaraderie, that quality that comes out? Because I expect to see bigger things from Darren Till going forward because of his experiences there. What do you think? Do you think that Conor is going to take that invitation? And if so, what kind of improvement do you think that you could see from him after that?
So here's how I would answer that: is I don't think that Conor's like his. Hang on, let me just put this in real quick. There we go. So I don't think that Conor's competitive fire is low. I think that he's got two problems. Number one is that he's rich as fuck and has a million things going on, so he's distracted. Like I can tell you from my own life, like you hear, like, especially if you've got an entrepreneurial mind like Conor does, you hear a good opportunity and you're like, okay, kind of you triangulate it. You're like, okay, we can make that work, and you take it on. And you're like, you're like, okay, yeah, we can make that work, and you take it on. And you can even tell people like, I'm gonna have limited bandwidth to do X, Y, Z, and then you blink and you're like, I literally do not have an additional minute in my day to do anything. And if your primary thing is training to fight, like you're fighting against guys who don't have any of those things in their life at all. They have fighting. Like you go back and you watch the
the genesis of Conor's career in like the best, well, I think the second best sports documentary ever made, which is Notorious.
Notorious? Holy fuck, that was good.
Behind Kobe Bryant Muse, which is the best one. And I've been saying that way before he died, dude. That is the best sports documentary ever. And then, but you look at that and like, he's in a fucking dungeon with a guy, and he's like, yeah, so these guys are going out. He's like, we're just gonna go in here and beat the shit out of each other, and that's his entire life is just fighting, fight. And when you're rich and you've got a bunch of projects, it's like it's not possible. It doesn't matter about that because he is incredibly competitive. I watched the interview with him yesterday where he was in the he was in his own bar and he was talking about it. And it's like, dude, this guy, he's exactly the same. Like he's thinking about legacy. He wants to win another belt. Like he's right there. It's just a matter of like bandwidth. And then also, I think actually the bigger problem is that Hamzat would help with is he has no one in his camp to challenge him, dude. It's like these guys, I mean, every single person in his camp is
a yes man.
Is a yes man 100% because they're like, we would never, like his striker goes Rooney, John Kavanaugh, all these guys are living in, like they're wealthy. Like if you're on Conor's team where you're making 5%, 10% of whatever he makes, you're like compared to what your aspirations for your life, you're a rich person now.
John Kavanaugh has never seen that kind of money before Conor.
And he's a guy who saves his money too. He's set for life, guaranteed. And it's because of Conor. And then like, so Conor comes in and like, I mean, Conor runs his own camp. I mean, they openly are saying that. They're like, he runs his own camp now. And it's like, that's not a recipe for success, dude. Like, I mean, I guess maybe Floyd Mayweather can kind of do that, but it's a much simpler sport. He's handpicking his opponents. He never fought like, he intentionally avoided guys that were in their fucking prime when he was in his prime. He did it. He fought a strategically brilliant career. But Conor, you can't do that in the UFC. And, I mean, if he trained with Hamzat every day, I mean, you got to imagine that he would get much, much better at the very least, like defending takedown stuff. Because his jiu-jitsu is actually really good. I mean, you never find out because jiu-jitsu is, overrated when you're on your back in a sport where they can punch you in the face.
Unless your name is Paul Craig.
You can get it done, dude. You can get it done. But like, it's like, I mean, Conor's not Paul Craig level. Like Paul Craig, he's a fucking. So I actually, the last time Paul Craig fought when he dislocated Uriah Hall's arm.
That was Jamal Hill.
Jamal Hill, I'm sorry. Yeah. I was watching that fight with Steve Hargett, who's the pound for pound #1 jiu-jitsu fighter in the world in Masters 2. So he's like, age 36 and above. He's like 36 or 37. He's literally the best in the world. Like he won every single world championship in no gi. He won 2 out of the 3 in gi last year. And he constantly comments on how mixed martial artists have fucking garbage jiu-jitsu. Like they're like, it's hard for him to watch MMA because most of the fighters have shit jiu-jitsu. And he watched Paul Craig, he was like, ooh, he's like, that's excellent jiu-jitsu. So like, Paul Craig
and at 205.
Legit. Yeah.
I mean, think about what's going on at light heavyweight. Light heavyweight has really been
Put your goddamn phone on vibrate, bro. Jesus.
For a while.
Respect your own platform.
Well, you got, just purely, you got like a really strong jiu-jitsu kind of pedigree at 205 now. You got Jan Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira. You got Paul Craig. You've got Anthony Smith. People sleep on Anthony Smith and forget that dude's jiu-jitsu is fucking nasty.
Yeah.
And then,
but Jan, I got to push back on the Jan. He laid on Izzy. He just laid on him in rounds 4 and 5. There was no real advance. He did no damage to a guy that weighed 35 pounds less than he did on fight night.
Sure.
I can't give him that kind of credit.
I'm just talking about.
Well, Jesse, how fair do you think this is as a response to that criticism of Jan that like with such a big fight that is more than not only is the belt on the line, but because of the buzz around that fight and the buzz around Izzy himself, it makes sense to take a safer route in that fight. Unless you are so confident that you can get a highlight knockout or whatever over Izzy, then if you're going to a submission and you've got this skinny, scraggly, scrappy guy, he's gonna be able to get out more easily. And if he can get up and he can strike with you, even though he's smaller than you, he's much better at the art of striking. So I mean that made sense to me. I wasn't mad.
It's a valid critique because like here's the thing is like how there's always the consistent feedback about champions is they fight one way until they become the champion and then they start fighting a lot more conservative.
Which I have no problem with.
Well, it's a simple.
And you've seen it out of Izzy right now too.
Yeah, as a fan, I don't love it, but conceptually, I have no problem with that.
Well, think about it like this, dude. No joke. The contracts look like in many cases, it's like. So I'll give you an example of one that I know for 100% sure. Okay, so at the very least, well, maybe I should. But okay, so like in one case, it's a $4 million base salary with pay-per-view points. Okay, that's as the champion
per fight or for the contract
per fight. And then if they lose the belt, their contract goes to 400. So 400,000 base, 400,000 win bonus. So the maximum they can make if they're not the champion, you know, outside of like a handful of little, like, you know, I mean, I guess even if they won fight of the night and they got their whatever, their you know, their bonus for promotion, crypto.com, whatever, they're still maxing out under $1 million. And with the belt, they're making 6. You're talking about a fucking 6x increase in their pay. And so, like, I just, like, people in general, when they analyze how people fight or the decisions that they're making, etc., it's like they live in a world where this is like, you know, two guys that are at school and it's like, hey, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. It's like, dude, there's so much more going on here. It's like, these are people who have real lives. They got families. The difference between that amount of money and that amount of money is enormous. So they're going to do whatever they're, you know, whatever they need to do to retain the belt, which is why it's a valid criticism when a champion is like, dude, if you want the belt, you need to fucking come get it. It's not my responsibility to push the action. But with Jan in that particular matchup, you know, in order for him to go for a submission or whatever, he does have to put himself in a position where Izzy could potentially escape. Where, you know, I mean, not always, but like, if he's, I mean, I would have to watch the fight again. But if he just, if there's the one place where he knew he was dominant, it was in dominating positions on the ground. I mean,
why not? Exactly.
So I got to ask you this, because my thing is that, you know, advancing the position doesn't necessarily mean that you have to attack submission. Sometimes you can have effective striking while you're in your opponent's guard. Izzy's, both of his shoulders were flat on the ground. He wasn't going anywhere. And I think that there were a lot of striking attempts, but he was ineffective. So that was really my issue with Jan. But we had a discussion before you came on.
Did you think Izzy won the fight? Did you think Izzy won the fight? Or you're just saying that Jan?
No. Jan won the fight. But he was ineffective. He basically just, he pulled, what's the guy I hate so much at 185? I hate that guy so much. Brunson, right? We seen what he did to Kevin Holland.
Brunson just got the fucking piss.
Yo, dude, you should have seen the giant fucking internet hard on I put on the show. I was so happy he got beat the fuck up. I hate that guy.
Well, this will make you feel really good. Is like I was there in the front row, and like the thing that they don't show you on TV, it's really crazy when you're that close, because you don't miss anything, and it's like and you contrast it to like what you see on TV, and on TV a person wins. And all you experience through the TV is exactly what they want you to experience. So you get a look at the guy walking around with his hands up and you're like, yeah, wow, incredible. What they don't show you is when a guy is super fucked up in the octagon. And Brunson was fucked up. Like he was like that's the most fucked up I've ever seen a guy after a fight. Where it was like he was hurt, dude. Like he was crazy fucking hurt. Where it was like, damn. Like I almost felt guilty fucking cheering for it, because it was like, Jesus, that guy is fucking new.
But I hate the guy so much that I did not have a problem with it.
So okay, let me.
I want to ask my question.
Yep,
so we had a discussion before you came on where we were talking about the very clear delineation between how referees used to referee stalled action along the side of the cage and also stalled action on the ground. Now, if you go back to 2018. Maybe even a piece of 2019, if there is no real attempt to advance position in any way, no effective striking, no advancing position, whatever,
that's cool.
They're standing them up, bringing them back to the middle and resetting things. We almost never see that anymore. What is your take on that?
I haven't really thought about it a lot. I'd have to watch, I'd have to go back and watch that Jan and Izzy fight. I mean, with the Jan and Izzy fight, if that's the one we're talking about specifically.
Brunson did it to Holland.
Well, yeah, just real quick. I think
Brunson beat the fuck out of Holland on the ground.
Well,
no, Holland was laughing in his face the whole time.
Right, but so to bring in the question a little more clearly,
Burns and Wonder Boy.
What we were talking about was like they used to, as long as you were working to advance position, then they would let you keep going. And now it seems like you have to succeed in advancing the position. And so if both guys are working but they're stuck in that clinch, then they used to break that up more often. And now because the guys are working, the refs aren't breaking that up as much. And I think that from the fighter's perspective, it makes sense that it takes work to get to this, you know, like the chain wrestling, whatever. And you know, if you're in there and
we lost them. Try to get them back.
I'm definitely fucking clipping that and putting that up. I'm just thinking of the most clickbaity. We need to talk about Jesse on fire.
Oh shit. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to get him back, but that was fucking cool. You know, he's definitely more of an insider than any of us could dream to be. Captain Paul. You know, he is. Wait, Grundy is.
I think that's where we lost him.
No.
That's it. I mean, Amirkhani. Did I not pick Amirkhani specifically because I better pick
He's a very flashy striker.
Yeah, I always pick Amirkhani. Yeah. Okay.
So that was, just a little clip, part of the conversation. We go back and forth between talking about the fight that's happening as it's happening. That will trigger, conversations about the last time this guy fought that and so on and so forth. And then oftentimes if it's a slower fight or between fights or between the prelims and the main or whatever it is, when there's time that the fights aren't on, we'll get into, any number of other conversations. And we try to keep it right around, we try to keep it focused around, MMA and what's going on. But sometimes it goes a little left, and I may or may not be, trying to make that happen when it's on. But yeah, so thank you to Jesse on Fire. Please go give him a follow. His channel is awesome and way bigger than mine. Jesse on Fire. He's also got another politics and culture channel, Jesse on Everything. Go check that out as well. And of course, the video we just watched was from the Filthy Casual MMA watch party, courtesy of the Talking Shit podcast. That's Talkin, just without the G, and then SH!T. So go follow, sub, like, all of that stuff. If you want to check out the, like I said, if you want to check out the full conversation, it's up on the Talking Shit podcast channel. But it's more of a thing that, kind of in the moment. So next Saturday, make sure you are subscribed and notified for Talking Shit, so that you can either talk shit in the comments, or if you want, you can pop up and be part of the panel as well. But I just, when you got a big name like Jesse come in, I gotta isolate that. Make sure I put that up there. It's all about the content, baby. Thank you again, guys. And if I don't see you on Saturday, I will see you on Wednesday for the next I Didn't Read Your Book podcast. Don't forget about like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Support links and subscribe to everybody else. And I'm out. Peace.